Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota podcast. My name is Mpho and Tim. I've got Tim Delace here with me. Yeah, let's get through the things, right? So you can follow us on X. Please do. You can subscribe to the One World Sports Radio channel where we're part of the podcast platform. They've got other podcasts, but please do subscribe. Also, we've got Full Quota podcast audio versions on Apple and Spotify. So please go there, search Full Quota podcast, and you'll find us there. And yeah, send us your comments, send us what you think. I think today's show is going to be quite controversial. We're going to get a lot of I received a lot of hate after the India one, so we might get a little bit more, but please do send them. It's fine, doesn't matter. We appreciate it. We appreciate you guys a lot. Yeah, I didn't want to make this video. I thought we'd be here on Friday, happy because we've gotten over the line. We'd be looking at the World Cup. But I think, Tim, before we start anything, how are you doing? And then we'll go into everything that happened yesterday.
I've been better, bro. I've been better. at least there was some domestic cricket to watch at the same time.
I have a bone to pick with the Lions. How do you decide to score 500 with rain around and think you're going to win a game?
Yeah.
In a 4-day game. It's not 5.
You were spot on. You were spot on. That game was in the bag. That game was in the bag. They had it if they'd gone to 100. It was done. Finished. It was done. Getting 500 got no more points. It didn't get them any more points going to 500 at all. So it made no sense at all. Just to remind people, we will be discussing round 2. It's just finished. We'll get into it. There's going to be a little bit of a break coming up because the A series is going to be happening. So we will get into that, and as well as the A series in a few days. So we're not gonna. We haven't forgotten it. We just, this is important to have a proper debrief before we get into that.
Yes. So, yeah, thanks, Tim. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in the next show. So Monday we'll talk SAA and we'll do all those beautiful things because after today, it's a new cycle for the Proteas across all formats, essentially. Because we haven't actually even played World Test Championship games. So, yeah, cool. Okay. Yes, we lose another semi-final. The Proteas lose another semi-final. So I've been thinking about this for ever since yesterday. I was so angry. I was in the office, by the way. So yeah, I was very angry. I nearly broke the office TV. But anyway, if there ever was a day, okay, on Tuesday we spoke about this and we thought that both teams had a glass jaw. Whoever was going to come out firing up front, they were going to kind of grab the advantage in the game. And the thing that complicated it was the weather, right? I was 50-50 in between whether we should bat first or bowl first. And statistically, the World Cup semi-final, put runs on the board. And always put runs on the board. Doesn't matter what's happening above. But in them, and I think at the toss when Timber was like, yes, we want to bat. Well, he wasn't like that, but he was like affirmative, you know. It's like somebody didn't hear him. It was like, yeah, we are batting, right? I kind of felt comforted because I was like, well, yes, we see this cloud cover, there's movement. It's kind of be like batting at the Wanderers, right, on a cloudy day. And these guys have done it, right? And the game plan is actually not to attack. You're only going to lose wickets when you attack. And yeah, look, we lost the game. Okay, I don't say we lost. So the first 10 overs of that game, there's 100 overs in a cricket match. The first 10 overs, that's 10%. Being 4 down then and being able to come back from there to put up 200 was one of the biggest positives I've ever seen. This team has it over the generations, a tendency, and in 2007 it happened. They were 5 down for nothing. I think they were 4 for 18 at one stage in 2007. It's like a revolving door in that thing. And they got to 170 or 100, whatever it was, 179. I thought this was going to be that. I'm like, Australia have come because you kind of were like, Mitch Stark and Hazelwood have a game in them where they just step up. And I fear for India because they're in trouble. And that was yesterday, right? And I cannot deny the fact that Australia bowled well. And I cannot deny the fact that Australia played better than us. And they played better than us because in a spot like this, you need to take your chances. And that was the final 50 overs. I love the effort. I love the bravery. David Miller, you can stay in this team for as long as you want. I don't care if the guys say you're 34. We want you in 2027. You like, there's nobody like you. I'm sorry. Um, to all those who are not David Miller fans, I hope yesterday you saw why throwing people away at age 34 because we want youngsters. That's what you get, right? That's years of experience. That's a man who's been to 3 World Cups doing that, digging you out of a hole, giving you a chance. And that was my thing the whole first 50 overs. It was give yourself a chance. And I thought we did that. Yeah, 211, that's okay. Yo, guys can bowl to that, right? Australia were 7 down for not much against Afghanistan, and then Glenn Maxwell happened. So I thought it's going to take a moment of brilliance in the final 50, the bowling 50, for us to get there. And a lot of people are angry at Timber today. I don't understand why, but I do understand why, because he's playing cricket while black. And they'll say it's not a race thing, but it might just end up being. But let's look at his decisions in the back end. We'll talk about the situation with the batting and everything else as well. But there was no way Tempo was not going to start open with Kagiso and Marco. There was no way. If he started with Aiden, like people are advising, like give them an over. What if they went for 20? You would be saying the same thing. Oh no, you made a bad decision. There's no winning in the final 50 overs. Even the whole thing of, oh, why didn't he bowl Kagiso? Kagiso had a heel injury. He couldn't bowl. So I can't bemoan him for the decisions he made, because you're in like literally a World Cup semi-final. You're trying to fight your way back into a game. What I love and what I think that's why he's probably one of the smartest guys in cricket, was the fact that, yes, you can say bolt cash in the 14th over, get over it. You had to try your seamers. The seamers weren't working. You need to give them every chance with a hard ball. Once we got to 14 and he stole, and the Aiden thing was a master stroke, right? He knew that you needed someone to turn the ball into the left, into the right hander. Aiden was the guy, because we don't have that, right? Outside of Shamsi, right? And it worked. And then you went to the spinners, and he bowled all of them out, including Aiden. So effectively, in my head, I was like, Timber's dying on the hill of the spinners. If we're going to lose this game, he's going to lose it having bowled out everybody, having tried the guys who actually were the conditions, and they read the conditions well. The bowling, we needed a moment of brilliance, and we never got it. We got patches, but you never got a double wicketer back to back. And towards the back end of the game, when we needed 3 wickets, it was like I was telling my colleagues, it's bang, bang, then bang, right? Even if it was 11 runs, it's bang, bang, then you take them back to 99, and then you strike. And we never just couldn't get that. And to a certain extent, the one issue for me was Marco. We didn't, we overestimated, and to a certain extent, this is what probably Rob did with Timber, right? We overestimated the fact that Marco's confidence was shot. Because when he started bowling in that second innings, he was finished. Like, we did the exact same thing that he did against India. He was flustered, he was nervous, the ball's coming out wrong, and he just kept on going for extras. But that's what you do for guys. You give them a rope, you give them a chance to redeem themselves, and it never worked. So I'm angry because I know that South African team is better than the Australian team, but they played the knockout game better. The way Australia, and in the second, everyone's gonna be like, but power play and ball. Australia were always going to do that. If we were in the same situation, chasing 200, that's exactly what we. Okay, not exactly, but we were still gonna try and pose ourselves on. They weren't gonna be too aggressive, but we were gonna. Our way of imposing ourselves on teams is not losing wickets, right? Giving them the fear of God that there's like 10 other people coming. Whereas Australia go, we're putting runs on you, and then that's what they did. That's what everyone. That's what Travis Head did, right? So I sit here going, I'm sad we're out. I think this is probably one of the best World Cup campaigns we've ever had. Well, yeah, we've all failed. There's nothing that's better than this because we've never seen a final. But I think this was the best one we've ever had. I think this is the one where we arrived in the semi-final with all our batters, or five of our six batters in form. And like outside of India, nobody had that. Even Australia. You saw Australia; they stumbled their way to the win. So I'm just angry that we let it go in the first hour of the game. But I'm happy. I'm glad that they fought back, and I hope that they can take the fighting spirit into 2027. And we'll talk about the changes to the team because I don't think we win with newbies. I don't think. If you look at the teams in the World Cup final, they're old men, all of them. World Cups are won by old men. They're not won by young kids. So don't come here and tell me you want young kids to come in. Yes, fresh blood here and there. There'll be someone like a Gerald who comes in and is good. But there's 38-year-olds in a World Cup final. Steve Smith's going to his third World Cup final. He's been here since 2009 when he was playing as a leg spinner. Rohit Sharma's old as God. Virat Kohli's, the Indians are probably going to ask him for another 4 more years. KL Rahul's not a spring chicken. So, like, for me, I sit there going, this was a first good one. And I feel like we're in India's position right now where the World Cup didn't fall on your side in 2019 and you didn't make it to the final after playing really well. I think maybe 2027, that's the hump. That's where we break through. But you can't throw everything out. And I hope we don't, because South Africans, we tend to do that, right? We get knocked out of a semi-final and we feel as, oh, that's below expectation, and we throw everything out. I did say there's nothing that stops this team from winning the World Cup, and I thought the semi-final probably was a tick for us, and we ticked it. We just didn't win it. So, yeah, Tim, I'm gonna hand over to you. That's where I sit.
Radio. It's time for the disagreement. Okay. Let's get the temper situation out. So we right. So let's focus on the decisions that he got right. I think batting first. Both captains would have batted first. It's easy to say that the conditions favoured. We saw what the conditions did in the 10 overs, but both captains would have done that. Can't blame Timber for that. That's not it. His decision on who to bowl when, I think large extent he got right. I think he could have bought Maharaj, picking up Maharaj 2 over there versus when he did, I don't think would have had a massive effect. So that's a slight thing. He could put Maharaj on and slightly. I'll blame him for the way he got out. That happens. Good ball. Wasn't moving his feet. Come in his crease. Can't blame him for that. Right. Those are the things that he did. Those are the things you can't blame him for. Things you can blame him for is playing. At the toss, he said, I'm not 100%, but he'll have to do. Now, he didn't have to say that. He didn't have to. I certainly wouldn't have said it. If I was 50% fit, I would never have said that. That just adds fire to the flames. If I hear that, then he doesn't play. Simple. He doesn't play. I said when we spoke to Menace, I said the only reason Timber doesn't play is he's not fit. He plays. I'm not interested in the loss of form.
I'll address this later.
Interested in some. Yeah, fine. But absolutely. I'm interested in playing 11 fit players. That tells me he's not fit. That's the repeat of we had 8 years ago. Picking somebody who wasn't fit. That's a huge thing. So you are effectively playing with 10 people instead of 11 people. Whether it's conscious or subconscious, when you're in the field, you start to think, well, I'm not gonna go for that one because it's just a little out of my reach. I don't wanna do more damage to my hamstring. That's natural. I'm not saying that happened. I'm saying that's very possible what happened. Subconsciously, he's thinking, "I'll leave that for Aiden. I'll leave that for Rassi." That's. I'm not saying I saw it in the field. I'm saying that potentially could have happened, and
What
that.
do you make of Rob's comments around that?
I,
Because
I,
in the press conference um, before
yeah,
the game, Timber did say as well, he doesn't pick himself, right? And
yeah,
he's been
yeah,
practicing, and Rob said he was practicing throughout the week. He didn't miss a practice. And Rob even said, well, if he says he's less than 100, he was pretty close. So where does the blame sit here? Because everyone's calling him selfish for playing himself, as though he
no,
picks that
no,
11 himself.
no.
And and he's not the first sportsman to play with the niggle. Cajiso, rightfully, that bruised heel didn't bruise in the game. That bruised heel came into the game. So
Yeah,
we can't be picky about. I understand. I'm saying if you fail the fitness test, so if Timber could not run between the wickets during whatever fitness test they do, that's fine. Don't play him. But he could. You saw him. We saw him for 100 overs. Those last 50 overs, the man even put himself under a helmet with a hamstring. But yeah, where do you get with Rob's comment? Because I get that, and it's for me, it's poor PR and poor management of the situation, because the whole week everyone's asking for scans, and I'm like, no, guys, if they don't deem necessary, trust the doctors.
you've just hit the nail on the head there. You've just hit the nail on the head. I think the last World Cup, not this one, the last World Cup. But somebody will be able to correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm.
Chisholm and Colby didn't play the final. The ruling
Semi-final.
was semi-final. The ruling was if you do not make it on the Monday, you don't play it on Saturday. It doesn't matter what you do in those 5 days. It doesn't matter if you single day. It doesn't matter if by Friday you are 100%. The rule is on that Monday you do not play. It doesn't. That is the rule, and that is what you stick with. What the problem is here is I don't see any concrete rules and mandate within what happens. I
But
think
so
there needs to be an understanding. If the ruling is, and it's made public and it's made official that if he's fit 48 hours for the game then he can play, then that's fine. But that's not what we hear. That's not what
nah,
we hear.
guys.
That's
So
what I.
Tim,
That's yeah.
can I clarify that rugby Chase and Kobe thing, right?
Yes, you
So
can.
the Springboks announced their team on the Tuesday of the game. They've always done that. So if you're
Yeah.
not going to practice on Monday, it means that we can't select you for on Tuesday, because remember, rugby selects their team 5 days before a game or 4 days before, which is stupid, but that's what they do. With
Well, the
cricket for
Springboks do
years,
anyway.
yeah, with cricket for
Yeah.
years, we've always had game time decisions, guys having fitness tests the morning of the test match, right? So you also got to give the management leeway. The thing is, people are you looking at the Springboks and saying, why can't the Proteas do this? Why can't the Proteas do that? Rugby's a totally different game. Rugby, I'm entering collisions. In cricket, I'm running, right? And so my thing was that Timber practiced every single practice that week. Every time the Proteas practiced, he practiced. Even the optional practice, he practiced. He ran. And the journos who are there were showing you pictures and videos, but everyone believes Timber was still injured. Yes, he may feel not 100%, but he's good enough to play. And he's not the first guy to play with an injury. Kagiso played with one yesterday. He may have cost us because we went to Marco when we needed him. But no one's jumping on top of Kagiso. No one's jumping on top of Rob for saying, guys, you could have picked up a bruised heel. Maybe Kagiso kept quiet. And so that's my frustration around this, is that everybody has
Yeah.
a niggle or something. And I remember, who was it the one time? One of the captains, either Faf or Graham or someone, kept on saying, "Oh no, everyone's got like some sort of niggle." We will play with something.
Well,
There's strapping here, there's
yeah,
stuff here,
yeah.
and I understand. Timber's biggest problem was his injury happened on live TV. It didn't happen at practice, right? And he's not and obviously it's an internal injury, so he can still lie about it, right? But the he was running shuttles at every practice, and he could have pulled up if that hamstring was bad. So I think for me, that whole Timber playing thing is people just adding fuel to the fire, and then they're saying Sia is selfless, and they're saying Sia is selfish, and guys from rugby coming saying no, Sia wouldn't play. Oh, guys, you don't know. This is a World Cup semi-final. Oaks want to play. There's no way you're gonna go to Timber's like, Timber, will you be willing to sit out? There's no way. Even you put yourself in his shoes. I would not have done that, because if he did and we lost, they'd be like, oh, look, he didn't want to be there. Why is he captain?
Well,
He's running away from responsibility. He doesn't win.
I definitely wouldn't have said what he said at the toss. That's when I start to have, I start to go, oh goodness gracious, so how fit is he?
Yeah.
How injured is his hamstring? That then adds what I think combination of but not understanding, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised for somebody who sees what is said on social media, and 99% of it is rubbish, and it's racist, and it's uncalled for, and some of the stuff that's come out of it is just wrong. It's but I think you could make an argument that maybe, but it comes down to the communication levels from Cricket South Africa all the way down. And it was the right sport. Again, it just feels like there's not enough. That's the issue. But I don't want to keep going on and on about it. So on what he said, I wouldn't have played him. I said that in the previous. Was an injury of any sort. But you're right, niggles happen, and that what happened. The other thing that I would bring up on Timber is when it got tight. When it was 170 for 6 for Australia, when there was hope, when there was a glimmer of a chance of South Africa getting back in, while he did initially have attacking fielders, then he didn't attack. He didn't give enough for Maharaj and Gerald for me. Gerald should have had a short leg. Gerald should have had a silly mid-off. Markham should have had a silly mid-off. Definitely for Stark. Stark was pushing forward because he knew there was no risk at all. He wanted pushing forward. He desperately needed attacking fields there. We may still have lost. Stark might have smacked over Markham's head for 6 and we would have lost. Fine. But we don't know because we weren't. Again, this is not an exclusive Timber problem. I think it's 99% of captains. It's reactive, not proactive. The edge. Start edge is on 2. Straight to first slip, no first slip. 2 balls later, first. The score was 2-3 for 7. 2-3 for 8. 10 runs needed, 2 wickets left. It's a balance again. So there were opportunities lost. So there was good and bad. Yeah.
Look, and my thing sits in the side of South Africa. It wasn't our day in the field, right? Yes, we can talk about Reza's drop catch, but I don't want to put Reza under all that smoke, right? Quinton's drop catch, that was tough. But all of those missed chances, on another day they stick. And my question is like, how do we get them to stick? Because for me, Australia in those first 10 overs, Warner was throwing himself around. Oh, by the way, he's 37 years old. Marnus was throwing himself around. South Africa couldn't get anything. Right? And And I'm like sitting there going, is there some sort of like a mentality where you don't allow? And I saw it in Gerald, right? Gerald refused to be beaten, right? He refused to, and he was always willing to make the play, whether with the bat, whether with the ball. And to a certain extent, that guy, I like Tim. I know he wasn't my cup of tea to start off with. That guy should play every single game for the Proteas from
Hot.
now until the next World Cup. Test, ODI, T20. That guy's earned my thing. Marco, I see you're great. I see you're amazing. There's a lot of questions around you, but Gerald, my word, you like I just sat there going, yes. And it's the same thing we see with Cash, right? And we got that out of Shamsi too, right? Shamsi didn't like I was like, geez, dude. But for me, it was guys refusing to not lose, not allowing it to lose. And then it spread throughout the team. And you're like, okay, cool. And then when Marco was bowling, I was like, but you don't seem fired up. Obviously, Marco's facial expression is always like one, which is weird. But for me, that was it. And I sat there going, on another day, those stick. And I don't want to sit on that. We played poorly. We batted horribly. David Miller saved us. Without David Miller, we'd be done by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. South African time, not Indian time. But we gave it a good fight. And my thing is that I was worried that the moment we got the first punch, we'd capitulate, but we didn't. And even in the second innings, when they punched us with a 60-run partnership, we punched back and we punched back hard. And to a certain extent, that game could have gone either way. It was close. We did not deserve to win that game. Australia had every chance to win that game, and had they lost it, they would have choked. And South Africa in that second innings, I have to applaud them. Like I look at it in entirety. Yes, there were mistakes made. Everyone made mistakes. Everyone made errors. Everyone dropped catches. Everyone bowled the ball they weren't supposed to. Right? We couldn't get an inch to the ball to stop it from getting to the boundary. But as a collective 11, that team spirit is the type of team spirit that can win you a World Cup in 2027, because guys are fighting for each other. And it took the youngster in the team to bring it out of them. And kudos to Gerald, because for me, and the other question for me was, why don't you just open with Gerald? That was my only thing, right? It was that there needs to come a time where Gerald opens the bowling. And I get Marcus a left arm seamer, I get it, but in the Afghanistan game, Gerald did really well with Kagiso at the top as a tandem. And to your thing, Tim, pace. I was going to be like, try get top edges, bowl the top of off, try and just make them uncomfortable, right? And obviously Kagiso had a bruised heel, so he probably was bowling within himself. But for me, that was my only thing around that.
I'm going to get controversial. And I did say it before the game. You asked me who would I play. I said Lungi would play instead of Shamsi. You can go back to the podcast with Manners. I said, and I stand by that. I love Shamsi's heart. I love that he gives 100%. He gave 100%. But he's a confidence bowler. Yes, he got a couple of wickets. Would it have been better to bowl? Okay, I put the caveat. He hasn't had a great World Cup. I play. He's still. If he had got head out for 10, win that game. If he had got out.
Yeah.
Play. What? Put the pressure and head. I'm not going to give you any with.
Yeah.
I would have played him. Again, he might have lost. He might have a bad Lungi. But I still think that would, for me, that was one of our strengths going to this World Cup, was wickets in the park. It came with times we were expensive, but we got wickets. The fact that we didn't in this game, the fact that there were lots of things that went against us, but that was huge. That partnership of Warner and Head was massive. in the context
Yeah.
of what you see, how the rest of their batters played. It was absolutely
Mm.
massive.
Yeah, look, and to a certain extent, obviously hindsight is 2020, but I think the question was Marco instead of instead of if Shamsi and Lung, because for me Shamsi always played right. We needed two spinners, and you don't want to be Australia bowling Travis Head. Yes, he bowled probably the over of his life, but um, but it was that right. It was we were never if we got knocked out of the World Cup with Lungi there, and we needed another spinner, and he could have gotten less. We would have said team management, captaincy. Why didn't you go with two spinners when we know it spins, right? So I thought they read it well. I think they just overestimated where Marco was mentally, and I think there's a lot of work that needs to happen with Marco to not let bad balls or bad games affect him, and for him to be able to play in things like this. And this is my thing about 2027, right? It's not going to get easier. Cricket in its nature is like this. So if you're not going to be there for the big spot and be able to thrive in the big spot, then we need a question. And I think maybe that's where we then need to look at other people in domestic cricket. But we don't have fans in domestic cricket, so we can't recreate these things. But we can pick guys, take them to these cauldrons, take them to Lords, take them to to Old Trafford, take them to the MCG, take them to Eden Gardens against India and see. Because David Miller thrived because he's done this before. Clausen, he this year he's been doing it in front of big audiences. Yes, he missed a straight one, which is the second one he's missed in two games, but you get a sense of guys who feel comfortable in the spotlight, right? And are comfortable who can do that. Gerald loves this, like he's like a rabid dog in this thing, right? Keshav thrives under this. Like you could see it with him. Like, oh man, Kesh. But yeah, so for me, that's the thing. And so Timber's form, right? And then after that, we'll go into who can come into the side, what happens, what changes happen, right? Timber's form's the big issue, right? Yeah. We don't,
Still
we,
averages 52.
no, it's
He
fine.
still averages
Like my thing
52
is,
before today, which is
yeah,
incredible.
look, they
But yeah,
look,
go on.
Timber doesn't play well away from him. It's weird. But at home, he does an incredible thing. And I'm gonna say this, right? He's had a horrible World Cup. There've been many other captains who've had horrible World Cups, right? And he's not gonna be the last. And to a certain extent, there's a certain level of leeway that you need to give. My thing is this: if three batters out of the top six were not on form, I'd have been like, okay, by the time we get to Afghanistan, you guys need to have a plan B around captaincy and what you're doing with Timber. But and this is what I got from Rob's press conferences. Everyone else is batting well. I only need two guys a day, two guys a game, sometimes three. Well, that was the Sri Lanka game when he scored a world record score. So we actually need two, and everyone batting around them, right? And I get it that he's at the top, and it sucks because the other guys are scoring runs, but you're the only one. Even though when they weren't scoring runs, you were keeping us in the game. He prevented us from going to the embarrassment that was going to happen in Zimbabwe. He got us to this point. He's been sensational up until this point. So I get the fact that they gave him a little bit more longer rope than you would, but there was no way you were going to say we're going to go die on the Reza Hill in this World Cup when you look at both of them, Timber's been by far the better batsman. Reza's just on form, and I get it. He had one good game and he had bad innings, right? But that's not. I don't have a regret about that. I really don't. Do you?
I said I would play him if he was 100%
If he was fully
fit.
fit.
No, and I did say that. But I do wonder if I was right. I do wonder if I was right because world-class teams, world-winning teams, make these defining decisions that at the time seem terrible, seem shocking,
Mm-hmm.
that are devastating for the individual involved. But they work. They make the team in the World Cup. They work. So, slightly similar, just to go on this World Cup, Alex Carey.
Alex Carey and Josh Inglis. Yeah.
Alex Carey retained the Ashes. He's the number one keeper in Australia across all formats, playing really well. And everyone likes him. Everyone is very happy with him. In comes Josh Inglis. Sensational, but he's 38 of 28 against New Zealand in that high-scoring game, and he were vital to games they had to win. They had to beat New Zealand, and they had to win the semi-final. That 28 that he scored yesterday will not get the plaudits it deserves. The way he played Shamsi in particular, and he was definitive in his shot making. So I do, and Tim is winning every single one of them. Every single one. Hundreds, strike rates, runs, the whole lot. He wins them all. But I think it is wrong that there wasn't a discussion around it.
I think there was.
Well, but, you know, that's when they talked about. Oh yes, they talked injury, but there are much lost form. Correction, yes, I've stand correct. It's particularly. I do wonder if he plays 3 games, Reza. If people play 3 games, we could be sitting here at the semi-final. No, I can't say for certain. It was a risk. It was playing Timber. It was a risk. It didn't work.
It didn't work, but the other risk is dropping.
But that's, yeah.
The other risk is dropping your captain, right? And in a World Cup, right? Like, no, I'd name me a team who's done that outside of disciplinary reasons. I'd probably even like maybe Sri Lanka have done it once, but I don't even think that. And I look at like Baba Azam, right? He stepped down afterwards, right? He didn't have a great tournament himself, but do you throw everything out because you come into the World Cup having planned around this, right? Do you then have to have a plan B for if your captain's not performing? I like maybe that's what people need to do, but I remember in the T20 World Cup when we spoke with Jalissa around Australia, when they were talking about Steve Smith and not coming in for Josh Inglis, actually, yeah. And they wanted Josh Inglis in the T20 World Cup instead of Steve Smith opening. And they didn't do it. People wanted them to do it, but they didn't do it. Right? So maybe...
Look, the captaincy, I'm not going to lie, it does complicate things. But it still falls under hard decisions being made for the better of the team. I'm not expecting Timber to not play. I'm not expecting him to say, you know what, I'm in rubbish form, I'm not going to play the next couple of games. I'm not expecting him to do that. Nobody is expecting him to do that.
People on Twitter were.
Yeah, but people on Twitter are idiots. Sorry, but people who are saying that...
Those are fans, dude.
People who are saying that are wrong.
Yeah, I get you. Okay, cool. Let's... Okay, final thoughts on the tournament. I thought it was our best tournament. Yes, we went up, but most hundreds ever in a World Cup tournament of this format. We had batters who were in the top 5. We had bowlers like Gerald's 20 wickets were insane. Apart from the chasing and the embarrassment of the Netherlands, I thought this was a really good World Cup. I'll put this up there with 99, but 99 stained with the loss to Zimbabwe. It's stained with that semi-final, right? So yeah,
So if you're putting the two teams together, 99 is a better team. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind. 99 is a better
yes, because
team.
they've got Lance Klusner. You can't beat Lance Klusner.
But look what
Like,
the whole, they literally batted till 10.
yes,
Literally batted. um, and I think that also the innovations that they were trying to do, various things, some legal, some not so
mm,
legal. Um,
yes,
I think it was a better team. Um,
yeah,
um, in general. Um, but you're right. This was an outstanding effort from a team, not from a bunch of individuals, a team. Um,
yeah,
the, the 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 game against the Netherlands will annoy them, but at the end of the day, well, it made no difference. It
yes,
didn't
because you still lost to India.
it didn't make no difference. We finished second.
Mm,
So no, we're not finished first. Um, so it made no difference at the end. Um, yeah, so you've got to give it a good grade. You've got to.
mm,
But the missed opportunities yesterday
that will
just
haunt them.
frustrate me. They just frustrate me. They're not
Yeah,
the same at 99, but there are gilt edge opportunities. There were
yes,
several opportunities to win the game. There were 3 or 4 opportunities to win the game yesterday. They were given to us. They said, yeah, Steve Smith hit the ball straight up in the air. Australia cruising to victory. They were cruising to victory.
mm,
Steve inexplicably hits the ball straight up in the air. Actually, I want a close game. I don't know why he wants a close game. He gives us one. And then of course the drop catches and things. So you've got to give it a good grade, but as I say, I'm still annoyed. 24 hours later, I'm
no,
still annoyed.
I'm annoyed with you. I'm a little bit more sympathetic to the cause, but yeah, cool. 2027. So okay, we start now. Planning for the World Cup, which we are hosting, right? So we're excited to bring everybody home. Um, the Wanderers is going to be so great in that final. Oh man, yes, but yeah, the question is, will we be there? Yeah. Here are
Afghanistan
my
against
couple
Sri
of
Lanka.
points. Don't gut the entire team. So Tim, are you letting Timber go now, or are you keeping him to play at age 37?
No, you've got to do what England did in 2015. You have to do it. Now, you don't have to cut the whole team, but you have got to start fresh. If you
Okay.
keep if you keep the leader, whatever it's still kind of the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same campaign. It's the same kind of thing. Even if it's not, if you go in the dressing room and right, okay, Protea Fire's dead. We're now going to use Protea. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
Bigger Fire.
Protea one or something weird like that.
um, so I think if you're doing it now, you say to Timber, we want you for the next 4 years in Test cricket. There's a chance there to win the Test base. There's a genuine chance to win it, even with what's happening. You want
Yeah.
There's your chance. Thank you very much. Been outstanding, but no, I'm moving on. I'm moving on from Timber.
He retires with an average
It's
of
not an
52
easy.
for the haters.
It's not an easy. Yeah, it's not an easy decision. Um, Broad and Anderson were doing well in one day cricket 2015. They
Mm,
weren't doing badly. They were doing well. I don't know have the stats on me, but they were doing well.
mm.
You need something like that, like similar. It needs to be a
So
couple
who
of the
who
stalwarts.
so
Yeah.
who in that team are you keeping in that
Okay.
11? And we'll
Yeah.
extend it to the
So
others.
yeah. Of the 11 that played yesterday.
Yes, and then we'll
Yeah.
extend it to the
Yeah.
15, right? So I
Okay.
assume
Well,
you, yeah.
so yeah, what I've done here is I'm keeping Miller. I think Miller's got
Yes.
just one more. I think he's got one more.
Okay.
I think Justin might have one more. Just. I
Okay.
think he might have one more. But then, obviously, Quinton's going. Russ is going. Reese is going. Maharaj is going. And then it's there's a discussion about Shamo. I think Shamo could be there. I think he could be there. But he
He
needs
just needs to work hard
different
on that craft.
needs to be a mystery for us. Unpredictable. He was too predictable. It was too predictable when it mattered.
Mm.
That's what was the problem with this World Cup. It was too predictable when it mattered against India. That was the and to a large extent against Australia. So yeah, so it's Ross is going, Perfuma's going, Quinton's going, Reese is going, Maharaj is going. Five different are going.
Ngidi
Could
Rabada.
extend it. Keeping them. I'm keeping
Okay.
them. Outside of the wider 15,
Obviously
I don't think
Nokia
Pet
comes
requires.
back in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think Pet requires
Um.
going to be there in 4 years.
Yeah. We just need to get him to become an all-round force, Andile. I agree with you on that list. My worry is I don't want to inject it with youth. I need veterans. I need domestic veterans. I need guys who have played 50 over cricket in South Africa for years and have come in. Yes, you can throw in the Deervalt in there and try to give him a chance. But essentially, what I need is because the issue because I look at the teams that have won the World Cup in the past, right? Majority of that team came from the prior. Yeah. So like England, they got rid of Broad and Anderson, but they still had Root there, still had Stokes, they still had um all those other guys. Oh, and Morgan, they still had all those guys, right? I look at India now. Effectively, they just rinsed and repeat 2019, right? And then added Shreyas Iyer, Shubnam Gill, and Sky. I look at it. Australia. Josh English is the only new face there. They came to South Africa with young people, but they didn't even get a chance.
But they didn't make
right?
make the squad. Yeah.
I look at New Zealand. Majority of that squad played in that final in 2019. The World Cup's not won by young men. It's won by old men. And my worry about throwing everybody out or trying to have a gutting, because there'll be guys will be like, no, don't take Klassen. Or Miller's 34, he needs to go. My worry is that it's that if you give me youngsters, and in 27 we're the youngest team at this World Cup, we're not getting through. We're not going to win. We're not winning the World Cup. Forget about it. We need to find that balance between guys who've played the World Cup, who've been to the World Cup, and guys. Because example, right? You don't know what these newbies are going to be, and you can come and be like, no, give them a chance. In the biggest spot in the world, and Aiden's done this multiple times. Yes, he's won an under 19 World Cup, but he's been to 2 World Cup semi-finals, and he shut the bed. And you can complain that no, they opened the gap for him because the openers didn't do well. Yesterday was his chance to show us how great he was. He didn't, and I'm not picking on Aiden for that. For this, I'm just using an example. The other one is Marco Jansen. Marco entered into the spot. He showed us who he was against India. We didn't listen to him. We put him back in there, and same thing. The only other youngster that did well was Joe Coetzee. Do we have a mechanism to figure out how guys are in thingy? No. But we do know that veterans can carry through, like how Klassen and Miller battered like the veterans they were, And so my thing is that we need to, given the Quinton thing, Quinton's an asterisk. My thing is, if I'm CSA, I'm going to Quinton's house. If I'm Enoch, I'm going to Quinton's house. I'm going to sit with his family, play with his kid, spend the day with him, maybe even go fishing with him. And be like, Quinton, I'm willing to give you 2 years out of the side. I'm willing to even not make you play ODIs until the next World Cup, but you're opening for me in 2027.
Yeah.
At 37 or 38.
Yeah. You can
right?
stay on your boat for the next 3 years. That's absolutely fine.
I
I'm
yes,
okay with that.
I'm happy to
Um,
ride with you, right? And to a certain extent, that's yes. Ricey probably needs to go. Timber needs to go, and these are guys who average really well. We're losing.
yeah.
Like, there's going to be a point next year where the Proteas are going to be smacked around, and probably India's going to smack us 5-0 at home, and and we're going to be like, look at those averages. Oh, we missed the days when the Proteas had those averages. Well, you let Timber and Rasi go, but you said they were old. They needed to leave. They're leaving, and Timber finishing his ODI career on 52 is sweet, sweet. Oh, beautiful. Um, but yeah, so for me, that's that, and I think what we need to look for is a seven. I think someone in Marco's realm who can bowl first change, but is more of like the Cameron Green mold, but like you can't find that, right? Someone who bowls
Well,
just like good as Marco and bats just as well as Cameron Green. But if you can mix them together, you've got time to find someone like that, right? The Jason, okay, Jason doesn't bowl anymore because I don't know what the Dolphins are doing. But Vian Mulder comes into the county from though he's irritated me, but we might need to give him a blank slate.
aim in 100
Um,
is in the runs.
yeah, no, Misalim Pongwana
Whereas,
is one of those guys that you
you
need
know,
to look at and see if he's got. I think he needs to come in. He's got ice in his veins. Um, and Ryan Rickleton finally will get his chance. But my worry is when we get to the semi-final and these guys are in the 11.
well,
Who do
look,
I look
the
to for guidance?
majority of those guys that you've mentioned are 25 to 28. So in 4 years, they're going to be 29 to 32 in their prime. As bad as
Mm,
they're going to be in their prime. So
yeah.
they, while they might fall to now if we give a debut to Michal, gets India, and he might get smacked around. But in 4 years' time, he's going to be 29 years old
Mm,
and have a lot more of an understanding of where he needs to be. So we might take a little bit of pain for the next 12 months, particularly in the white ball format. That's okay, as long as there is a plan, as long as there is a goal, as long as there is uh, a way of going about it, rather
mm,
than just plucking, as you say. He had a good essay at the 19. Let's play him. He had a good essay at 21. Let's pick him.
mm,
That kind of thing. Picking guys, there are guys there. We've mentioned a few now,
mm,
but there are like they're not there. It's this was always going to happen. This was always going to happen. I thought that last World Cup losing Faf and Aiden, Faf and AB would be huge. This is largely this is actually bigger because
mm.
I think um that's it's going to be a shift in where we're going. So
Yeah.
but
It's
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 exciting.
it's
It's exciting.
look, it's exciting. It's a new era. Everyone likes new things. So let's see how that goes. I know Enoch's looking at winning 2027. This one he wasn't necessarily looking to win, which bothered me a lot. But the work that Rob did from the beginning of the year, coming in as coach of a team that was on the brink of not making qualification for the World Cup and having to go to Zimbabwe to defend their honor and everything else, avoiding that, picking a squad to go to this World Cup and getting to a semi-final, which is where they were supposed to be. They hit the mark. They didn't impress. They
Yeah,
hit the mark. Though I wanted them to make the semi-finals, they made them. They didn't
yeah.
win because I remember even in the preview podcast, I was like, you need to win 2 games. You give yourself chance of winning 2 games. They did. They just fell on the first hurdle. So yeah, it's disappointing and sad. I'm not watching the World Cup final. Good, well done to Australia for winning. I don't know how many they've won. Sorry to India, but yeah, you're gonna see a David Warner, Steve Smith masterclass. Like we're going back to like 2015. But I don't make them rules. Old men rule. Old men win World Cups. Young men just win leagues or win whatever you do, things that don't matter. Um, and you'll see that.
Bilaterals.
Yeah, those bilateral things. Yeah, we're the best bilateral team in the world in ODIs, but we can't win a World Cup. And yeah. maybe it'll stop our fascination with youngsters. But I think Gerald's brought us back in because, oh my word, that is a performance that requires the biggest amount of respect. And David Miller hadn't scored 105 years, and he did it there.
Incredible. Incredible.
So, David, yeah, we'll see you in South Africa. You won't be captain, but yeah, we'll have a good time. Hopefully, you keep yourself fit. Go. I'd give Miller a sabbatical. I'd give Quinny a sabbatical if he can want it, and I'd give Kagiso a sabbatical. He's he's bowled a
Correct.
lot. He
Yeah.
needs a break, and
Yeah.
I hope we do things like that, right? Where you're like, Kagiso, it's fine. Go earn your money. Go to
Yeah.
America. Go live life, and then we'll see you when we see you because you're that good. But maybe for tests, keep them in. Keep Kagiso
Yeah.
close, but the rest
Yeah.
can go and
Yeah.
do whatever they think. Because I think he'd kill us if we made a World Test Championship final and we didn't call him. So because that's what we're gonna do. But yeah. Tim, thank you, my man. It's been a wild World Cup. Thank you to everybody who came on to give us insights into their teams, and we look forward to doing that next year. We've got another World Cup because cricket is wilding. 2024. Supposedly there's a T20 World Cup somewhere in the world. I don't know where. And I think it's the West Indies and the USA. Yeah, that's that.
Yes. Correct. I was
Yeah. So
just thinking that. Yeah.
we won't be sleeping. We'll be waking up, watching games. Hopefully, maybe that one will win, but that one's going to be part of the same rebuild, right? It'll be the start of the rebuild, so I won't be expecting much from this team, especially in the T20 format, because when it comes to that 20 overs, guys, anybody's in the game. But maybe this is our chance. Yeah, Tim, thank you very much. We'll be back on Monday to talk SAA and all the guys you don't want to see in the Proteas side because supposedly we're going backwards. And yeah, we're picking old men. But outside of that, have a good day. Goodbye and lesale kakahiso.